Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Judith Walker from the CAPS and Disability Services Office, the Disability Services Coordinator. We have Kathy Sider, also from the CAPS and Disability Services Office. Kathy is the Testing and Alternative Formatting Coordinator. We have Linda DeZiggy from our START Advising Office. Linda is an assistant director as well as a senior advisor. We have Chris Bridges. Chris is a peer advisor. We have Ali Pavlicek. She is an advisor from CHESS. And then we have Gwen Darga, who is also an advisor from CASEL. Okay, so we are here today.
And
yes.
Raquel.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Raquel.
It's okay.
We also have Raquel Behringer, and Raquel is an advisor for CASEL as well as for START. So we are here today to chat with you about how you can excel in online learning environment, as well as creating routines for your online learning environment. So first of all, and then any of our co-hosts can chime in whenever they feel necessary. First of all, you need to treat your online course like a real course. Just because it's an online course doesn't mean that it's not a real course. You can accomplish this by being disciplined, staying curious. You chose this course for whatever reason, so you should be very interested in the contents of the course and getting the best out of the course. Participate. Participation is very important in an online course. You want to be participating in the discussion posts so that you don't lose necessary points. Setting goals for yourself. These goals should be reasonable goals. Don't overload yourself and set goals that are not accomplishable. Hold yourself accountable. So you need to hold yourself accountable, not just in the beginning of the semester, but throughout the entire semester. When you're in a face-to-face course, you have the instructor there that's constantly and consistently giving you reminders about assignments, about due dates, about projects. You won't necessarily have this in an online course. So you need to hold yourself accountable and make sure you're aware of every project, every due date. Show up. You need to show up for class. Many times students feel this is an online class, I really don't have to be present. You need to be present. And when you're there, you need to be engaging. Ask questions, provide feedback when necessary. You also need to implement strategies for your success. And as we move along in this webinar, we will show you some strategies that will make you successful. You also need to engage with your resources. A key resource for you that I think many students do not realize is your instructor. Your instructor is there to provide you information and make this class most successful for you as possible. Also, it's always a good reminder to have a calendar. You may use a Google Calendar, you may use a paper calendar, whatever type of calendar you use, you need to look at the calendar and be reminded of your projects, assignments every day. That's a routine. Anybody have any comments on those topics? If not, we'll move forward.
I'll jump in, Judy. I'll jump in.
Oh,
so
great. Thank you, Kathy.
We're talking about routines, and again, we're doing remote online learning or distance learning. I would like to remind everyone that it's a good idea to keep your routine from morning to night. Make sure you get up, you get dressed, you are prepared. You, as Judy said, set a times aside for when you want to do your work, participate in class, do things. I would say share the schedule if you're in a household with a bunch of people. Maybe you have younger siblings, maybe you have older parents or roommates. Share it with them so they realize that from 1 to 4, I'm in class, I'm working, I need to get this done, we can hang out later, we'll check in each other later. So don't just think, oh, I can be in my pajamas all day and then I'll just watch this YouTube video and this and that. You need to try to keep a schedule going, otherwise you'll get very far behind. So that's a good thing to just keep in mind.
Absolutely, absolutely. And a little bit more on holding yourself accountable. You should set goals for yourself and then check in with yourself weekly. Allot enough time for your homework that you'll have it done before the due date or your assignments. You do not want to be starting an assignment on the day that it's due. And you really don't want to be starting an assignment the day before it's due. If you're having trouble with holding yourself accountable, setting goals, you might choose to pair it with a fellow classmate. And that classmate could actually end up being an accountability partner. For example, you could say to your fellow classmate, is it anything that I can help you with? They can say to you, okay, we have this assignment that's due in 2 weeks. How are you doing? Is it something that I can help you with? It's very important in an online learning environment to be organized, proactive, and self-aware. As we talked about before in the slide before, you're not going to have an instructor in front of you daily reminding you of due dates, assignments, and projects. Another way to hold yourself accountable is that syllabus. The syllabus is going to actually be your Bible. That syllabus will have all of your assignments, all of your projects listed there with due dates so that you can accomplish those in a timely fashion. Another thing that you should do is minimize distractions in an online learning environment. Of course, technology is so important. We wouldn't actually be facilitating online work if it was not for technology. However, sometimes technology can be distracting. So when you're working on assignments, when you're working on projects, put technology, unnecessary technology away. And that means close out those emails. Do not participate in social media. Put your phone away and only have the resources available that you truly need to work with. Moving on, establishing a good workplace, so important. So we're all at home now, and some of you may have children or sisters and brothers. So it may be a little bit difficult to find the perfect place to work and do your assignments and your projects. So you need to find a dedicated environment for your studying so that you can complete your work daily. This is a routine. You may choose a space that's by a window, and that may be very distracting. So experiment with trying to find the appropriate place. Once you find that place, stick with it. You'll go to that place every day. You'll have your folders, you'll have your files. It'll be familiar. It'll be a routine. So make sure that you do that. Also, of course, in an online learning environment, high-speed internet is so necessary. Now, some of you may have had difficulty with high-speed internet. Maybe you don't have internet. Our library is currently not open. Maybe you don't have access to that. Well, there are hotspots at our own university, University of Michigan-Dearborn, over in Fairlane Center. They've developed a hotspot, so you can go there and you can use the Wi-Fi in your car, of course, because we're practicing social distancing. You can use it there. And then there are other places where you can find internet access. Do you agree, Kathy?
Yep, there are other places. I would say check with your mobile provider to see if your data has been extended or unlimited during this time frame. You can always make a hotspot that way. And as always, you can contact ITS on campus. You can send in a request and they can give you options or lists and help you obtain that internet that you need to be successful with your classes during this time.
Perfect. Managing your time wisely. Wow. Managing your time wisely is important in a face-to-face class, but so important in the online learning environment. In the online learning environment, you have more flexibility to manage your time. So you need to really key in on that and stay focused. We talked about a little bit before the syllabus being your Bible and making a note of major projects so that you can finish those in a timely fashion. But you also need to think about personal commitments. Maybe you have weddings. Maybe you have personal things, vacations planned. So look at that time frame and factor that into your online learning environment. Schedule a study time. You must schedule study time. Maybe you're a morning person. Maybe you're an evening person. So if you're a morning person, you're going to do better studying in the morning, and vice versa for an evening person. Whichever person you are, make sure that you're studying at that time every day. Once again, you are establishing a routine. So stick with those study times and those time blocks. And of course, as always, you need to manage your assignments and the due dates. You don't want to get behind on assignments because that can be so stressful for you and trying to keep up. So make sure we're managing our assignments appropriately. Anything else on that, Kathy?
Yeah, another thing to consider is this is for distance learning in general, but right now you may be starting a summer course. Summer courses are double the work in the half as amount of time than of like maybe fall or winter. So if you took a regular online course during fall or winter, you have the 15 weeks to complete the assignments. Here you're going to have half that time. So I'm just curious, does anyone in the advising office have any tips or things to do well in summer courses during this time frame? What do you advise students to do such with this short time? If anyone wants to chime in.
Sure, I'll chime in. Kind of echoing what you said, I just make sure students are aware that the courses typically are taught in a much more condensed time frame, especially if it's students' first time taking a summer class. It's going to feel different from a fall class. It's going to move a lot quicker. And if that class was in person, it would be meeting, probably double the amount of time. So I recommend students, be really intentional about choosing their summer classes. I definitely recommend a lighter load than in the fall and winter. And then to keep in mind the courses they're going to take. A chemistry class, a math course, taking a fast-paced course like that can be extra challenging. So it might be better to save those kinds of courses for fall. So to just kind of be intentional with what you take and not underestimating the pace of it. Because for summer classes, it's definitely important to stay on top of it. There's not going to be the first week where it's going to be really easy breezy. It's going to kind of be up and running right away.
Yes, thank you so much. And
yes, thanks, Gwen.
As we come to a close for this portion, we just want to remind you that as the START office, as the disability office, as the CAPS office, we are still here and we're here for you. Students may not realize that the support services are still here, such as the Writing Center, the library, tutoring services. Your instructors will also have remote office hours. So make sure you're taking advantage of all of these resources as we are still here for you. Here's a list of resources that you can take advantage of. And this webinar will be listed on our website after we're done. So once again, we are wishing you the best experience in your online learning. And if we can help you out with anything, please let us know. The chat box is available if maybe you have some strategies that have been helpful for you in an online learning environment. So you're welcome to use the chat box, or if we can answer any questions for you. But last but not least, I would like to kind of turn it over to the advising office to kind of chat with you about experiences that they've seen, things that can help students in the online learning environment. So I think we have Linda up first.
Hi. One of the things that I wanted to echo on what Judy had said was just establishing the routine. And I'll invite any of my colleagues to chime in when they feel necessary. But as part of establishing the routine, one of the things I think that we have found, especially moving to a virtual platform for advising, is emails and being diligent about checking your email. I know that for several of us in the office, having required advising as a START student, you are required to meet, whether it's in person or virtually, but obviously at this time it will be virtually, but you are required to meet with an advisor, and there's been communication that has been sent out about that, which you would see in your email. So making sure that you are reading your email as part of your routine, and then scheduling those follow-up appointments with your advisor to complete that required advising. So that's one of the things I think that we have found. I don't know if it's gotten better or worse as we've moved to virtual, to this virtual platform, but definitely making sure to include that as part of that routine. I don't know if anybody wants to add to that.
Kind of going off what Linda was saying about routine, one thing I always recommend to students when they're taking online courses really does have to deal with routine. And I use myself as an example. When I was in graduate school, I had a lot of online courses, and I had to set that I have a certain day and time, that window that I set aside each week. I often tell students, think about it just like you are physically going to class. This is the day and time that you're doing that, and you can schedule it around any other responsibilities you have with family or work, other activities which might be limited at this point, but really setting aside a specific time and holding yourself accountable to that time. I think it's a way to help prevent procrastination, because that's often the feedback I get from students about why they struggled in online courses was because of procrastination, because they would put things off too long and then it was too hard to get caught up. So I think establishing specific, days and times that you are dedicating to that course is one of the easiest ways to make sure that you're staying on top of your work with the class. And being very mindful that that aligns with the due dates for that class. Some things might have stuff due every Sunday or every Wednesday. So aligning the time that you're setting aside with when your due dates are typically for those courses. One other thing I've gotten feedback about from students is being mindful about discussion posts. Oftentimes, not only do you have to post, but then reply to other people's posts. So making sure that you're paying attention to what the guidelines are for your discussion posts, so that you're not only accidentally doing half of the work, that you're not just posting and not replying, or that you're doing it on the wrong days, those type of things. So paying attention to deadlines and really the specific guidelines of what you're supposed to be doing for those. If you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to your professor. That's what they're there for. Students often feel that they don't have that same connection when not being in the classroom, but they're there to run the course just as if you were in the class. It's just going to be through email or other, virtual office hours, things like that. So don't be afraid to hesitate, or don't hesitate or be afraid to reach out to your professor if you do have questions about what those specific guidelines are.
Kathy posed a question about helping when students are concerned about their grades. In what capacity?
Like if they're worried right now, do students ever come to you with concerns of their grades? Where should they start if they're having problems in classes online or maybe when we're back in person?
I know that I've been getting a lot of questions about the pass-fail option because students that they extended the opportunity for students to change a letter grade to pass-fail. So I've been getting a lot of questions about that and how that impacts them, how to do that. So they can certainly talk to us. If they have a dispute about a grade, it needs to go back to the professor and ultimately to the department chair if they don't feel that there's a resolution with the professor. Other questions about grades or?
Okay. I was just curious if you guys get asked those types of questions.
Yeah, we definitely do. A lot of times we're like the switchboard, so we kind of tell students what direction they need to go if they have specific questions about grading. There's nothing that we can do about a grade, but we can definitely refer students to the proper people to just have those conversations with.
And I'll chime in real quick. Sometimes it's helpful when a student's coming in and they're having issues with a certain class, just to kind of reflect about it a little bit with somebody who's not really deep in the class. So if that's ever an opportunity a student's looking for, I know that, the team would love to just talk a little bit more about their experience. And again, like Linda just said, refer them to the appropriate place where they need to go.
Perfect, thank you. Since we have this platform, how do we reach you? How do students reach you right now during the remote environment?
They can either reach us directly through email or they can email the START office at umd-start@umich.edu. And our front desk staff is still working remotely, but they will, they will refer or forward those emails to the appropriate advisor if they don't have the advisor's direct email.
All right, not to call Chris out, but as a peer advisor, what does your role do? What does like a typical appointment with you look like? Or how could I meet with a peer advisor?
So peer advising as of right now we're not meeting with students virtually. We're sort of handing our load to the regular advisors. We're not being given meetings at this point. However,
Okay.
a peer advising webpage is being set up right now. I'm working on that, where all of the peer advising resources that we have been using with students, like our academic coaching resources, and just general like files. I know we have a bunch of study tips stuff. We've got test taking stuff. A bunch of stuff like that is going to be published on that page that we use during our appointments with students. And once we are back in person and, before all this happened and everything, generally meetings would consist of, students coming and filling out forms with us. Like we would help with adding or dropping a minor, adding or dropping courses, changing a major, pretty much just general stuff like that students just might not know how to do because, as part of the START office, these students are mostly first year students and therefore don't know, how to do certain things or which forms to fill out for what. So pretty much, we just help them with a basic level of understanding the process of how to do things. And hopefully once this website is published and it's finished, students will have access to our resources that we can't provide in person right now.
It's awesome that you have a way you can help walk new students and people through the process as it goes. Thank you, Chris.
For the START office, there's a question. How do students know when they should meet with their academic advisor pertaining to working out their class schedule?
So all START students are required to meet with their advisor once a semester while they're in START, and that's communicated again through their email. When they transition to the unit, and so for each academic unit, it's different when students are transitioning, but the academic units will communicate whether or not that there's required advising. But for our office, for START, students are required once a semester.
Do you have any tips for students to kind of remember to check their emails about the messages from the START office?
Chris, do you want to? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. I often encourage students, because most students have smartphone technology, to connect their email to their phone. That's how I keep up with a lot of what I need to do. Not only is my work email, but my work calendar is connected to my phone so that I can't forget about those important things, and just making it part of your routine. When you're going to log in, to say, log into Canvas to go through your coursework for whichever particular class, make it a point to take a minute or two to check your email. I know particularly this semester, with everything being remote and students having received, I'm sure, a flood of emails from across the university, I personally have made a point to send out the email reminding them about that appointment multiple times, from when the schedule initially came out up through the registration timeframe. So we really do our best to communicate that more than once, so that if it did get overlooked the first time, then they can get another opportunity to catch that email. And for students that I have had email me asking, well, I have my START hold, how do I take care of it? I've either referred them to try to find that email, because we have a link to actually schedule the appointment in there, so that they can schedule easily at their own convenience, or I've resent the link to them. So if they've not seen the email and now realize they have a START hold, I've resent that email to them so they can easily schedule on their own. It makes it a really smooth time. They can see all of their advisor's availability and then just choose a time that works for them. Communicating through email makes it a little more difficult, because they might tell me I'm available 10:30 Friday, and by the time I get to the email after appointments, that's not an option anymore. So I really encourage them to use the link in the email, and I'm happy to resend the link if needed.
Thank you, Raquel. Okay, I think we're coming to pretty much the end of our time here. Is it any final thoughts or any other pertinent information that we need to add on today?
Judy, can I just address this last question that Kathy
Yes.
posed? She was asking about career options and if we help students explore career options.
Yes.
I think we all do at some point or another. We also work closely with the Career Readiness Office and Jen McLeod, who, when we were on campus, was hosting, or not hosting, but she was holding office hours in our office once a week to work with students as a career readiness counselor. So, you know, we refer students to her, but we also refer students to the different resources that can be found on the career readiness website, like the focus interest inventory. So we do speaking for myself, because I work with the undecided population, I know that I'm having that conversation often with students, but even for students that have declared majors, they you know, are exploring all their opportunities within either like Castle, because there's so many majors, but looking to maybe transition. We also work with pre-health students who are thinking med school or dental school. So there's a lot of conversations that I know that I have, and I'm sure my colleagues do as well. So.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you, Linda, and thank you, START Office, for joining us today. I think we've given the students a lot of information, but we want to leave you with, we are definitely here for you. So reach out to us by email, and remember the other support services that are still here working with you. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you again so much for joining us.
Thanks. Bye.